I don't remember the last time we managed to get through a week without reporting on Boeing's faulty planes. Why do incidents like these keep happening to Boeing planes?
A globally shocking announcement has just been made. The international airport in Alaska has been abruptly shut down under emergency orders by the United States government. All flight operations have been suspended. No takeoffs, no landings. An unprecedented incident is unfolding in Alaska. Federal security forces have completely sealed off the area. No one is allowed access. No explanations have been given. What is being concealed behind the locked gates of Alaska's international airport? Could it be a horrific accident, a major threat to national aviation security, or something far more terrifying than anyone has imagined? Watch until the end of this video to uncover the full truth behind this chilling mystery. Flight 558-55. Breathless minutes in the sky. A clear summer morning over Seattle. Flight 558 of Alaska Airlines, with 6 crew members, was carrying 176 passengers, departing the bustling city on a journey towards sunny San Diego. Seattle-Tacoma Airport was busy as usual that day. Families heading off on summer vacations, business travelers rushing to appointments, young couples eager for a memorable weekend getaway. The Boeing 737-900ER, tail number N293AK, lifted off from the runway at exactly 7:38 a.m., roughly 20 minutes after takeoff. The aircraft was cruising smoothly through clear skies. Flight attendants were preparing the breakfast cart, while passengers either began to nap or opened their laptops to work. It was the kind of quiet moment when people naturally let their guard down. Then, a faint vibration began to spread from the left side of the aircraft. At first, it was barely noticeable, easily mistaken for a mild turbulence, but the shaking did not subside. Instead, it grew steadily stronger, more consistent, and increasingly concerning. A spokesperson from Alaska Airlines later confirmed. Shortly after takeoff, an unusual vibration was detected on the aircraft's left engine. The aircraft involved in the incident belonged to the next generation NG series and was relatively new, only 3.92 years old. It was one of the most modern Boeing models, capable of carrying up to 178 passengers. In the cockpit, Captain John Miller immediately detected something abnormal. He focused intently on the technical indicators. The vibration came from the left engine, a CFM56-7B, one of the most highly regarded engines for stability and reliability, yet even the most trusted engines can fail. The shaking intensified, and then suddenly, boom! A deafening explosion ripped through the sky, echoing in the air, terrifying and unforgettable. It was the kind of sound you never forget once you've heard it. Moments after landing, a chilling video recorded by a passenger went viral across social media. In the tense footage, the left engine cowling of the 737-900 was completely gone, exposing a bare, scorched, and scratched core. This was no longer a minor technical issue. The aircraft had entered a full emergency midair. The engine cowling is not merely an external shell. It plays a critical aerodynamic role, shielding components, managing airflow, and maintaining structural integrity. When it's gone, airflow becomes unstable, risks spread rapidly, and flight performance is drastically compromised. This was a life-threatening situation at cruising altitude above 30,000 feet. So how did the crew manage to regain control in such a critical moment? Mid-air crisis. The crew responds swiftly. Inside the passenger cabin, tension reached a suffocating peak. There was no escape. No emergency exit exists at 30,000 feet above the ground, suspended between life and death. The only hope for 176 people strapped tightly into their seats was the crew they depended on. Amid the panic, the flight attendants moved with the composure of soldiers on the front line. They walked down the aisles, steady, calm, and focused. Their voices were clear and firm. They gestured precisely, demonstrating how to lean forward, brace, and prepare for impact. No one knew whether the landing ahead would be smooth or catastrophic. In the cockpit, Captain John Miller and his crew faced what could be the most critical moment of their careers. The left engine, with its cowling torn away, exposed a raw core violently shaking in the air. Only two options remained, and both carried deadly risk. If he shut down the right engine, the aircraft would be forced to operate on a single engine. The Boeing 737 is built to handle such situations, but it would lose thrust, reduce maneuverability, and put immense strain on the left wing. At high altitude, that was far from ideal. On the other hand, allowing the damaged engine to continue running posed even greater dangers. The vibrations could further damage other components, or worse, lead to a mid-air explosion. Time was running out. After a brief but intense exchange with the first officer and a final review of system data, Captain John Miller made a critical decision: reduce engine thrust without shutting it down completely, and immediately reroute back to Seattle. Air traffic control cleared the runway instantly, activated full emergency protocols, and deployed the rescue team in full force inside the cockpit. Miller held his breath, calculating every second. A fast landing was necessary, but precision was non-negotiable. Then the runway appeared. The cabin fell into silence. Flight attendants shouted with clarity and urgency, "Heads down! Brace! Hold tight!" The Boeing 737 roared as it cut through the air. The belly of the plane struck the ground with a jolt, not smooth, but intact. The aircraft survived. It had landed safely. At that moment, the tension held throughout the flight finally broke. Fragmented breaths, shaky relief. Some burst into tears. Others clung to strangers. Some stared at the cabin ceiling, eyes wet, struggling to believe they had survived. They had just returned from the edge of death. Following the safe landing, Alaska Airlines released an official statement. The two pilots operating the flight have a combined 32 years of flying experience. Our flight crew handled the situation with great professionalism and care. We deeply appreciate the patience of our passengers during this event. In the hours that followed, aviation experts voiced deep respect for Captain Miller's handling of the emergency. Mark Weiss, a former commercial pilot and aviation safety expert, commented, "He kept the aircraft within a safe operational envelope under a scenario no pilot ever wants to face. That's the mark of a true leader in command." A technical analyst from the U.S. Civil Aviation Institute added, "Choosing not to shut down the engine entirely, but to reduce its power, was an exceptionally sharp decision. It allowed the aircraft to maintain minimum required thrust, preserved aerodynamic stability, and limited potential cascading failures. Very few pilots have the judgment and experience to assess that correctly in mere minutes." The calm inside the cockpit, the close coordination with the cabin crew, and the ability to make life and death decisions in a matter of minutes. All of it turned Captain John Miller from a veteran pilot into a new symbol of composure in modern aviation, according to commentary from multiple international media outlets. But one unavoidable question remains. What exactly happened inside the engine before everything fell apart? Decoding the engine vibration, worn fan blade, sparks, a dangerous chain reaction. Immediately after all passengers were safely evacuated, the Boeing 737-900ER became the focal point of a serious aviation incident. The aircraft was towed to a restricted maintenance area, where all attention turned to a single question. What exactly happened inside the engine? Alaska Airlines and the UAO, Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, launched an urgent investigation. There was no room left for speculation, only hard technical facts. The first priority, the fan assembly. There, engineers quickly discovered one of the blades had sustained serious damage. Initial evidence pointed to the possibility of a foreign object being ingested shortly after takeoff. Fractures and tears on the blade surface indicated a forceful impact, strong enough to destabilize the entire rotor assembly and cause the vibrations to exceed design limits, eventually ripping the engine cowling apart like paper. But the shock didn't stop there. A deeper investigation by the FAA revealed an even more troubling scenario: hidden material fatigue from within. The initial vibrations, though seemingly harmless, gradually eroded internal structural components under high-speed stress, especially the mounting points that held the cowling in place. Although the aircraft had passed all scheduled inspections, the bolts and fasteners designed to withstand extreme vibration may have weakened over time. Microscopic cracks and substructural flaws, invisible to the naked eye, had been forming silently. A dangerous combination of hidden mechanical weakness and a sudden mid-air event, resulting in a near catastrophe that almost claimed the lives of nearly 200 people. Hard lessons and a wake-up call for the global aviation industry. The terrifying incident with Flight 558 left more than debris on the aircraft's body. It left a chilling question for the entire aviation world. Have we become too reliant on traditional inspection routines once considered foolproof? The harsh reality is this: legacy maintenance methods based on visual checks and manual procedures can miss invisible threats hidden deep within the metal. Microscopic cracks, hidden corrosion points, undetectable to the naked eye, can linger through hundreds of flight hours, waiting for the right vibration to trigger disaster at 30,000 feet. This is where non-destructive testing, NDT, has become the industry's new lifeline. Ultrasound, X-rays, magnetic resonance, once exclusive to hospitals, are now being used to see through every inch of aircraft engines. And the FAA didn't wait. They issued an emergency advisory requiring all operators of Boeing 737-900ER aircraft to increase the frequency of NDT inspections, especially targeting the fan blade modules and engine cowling fasteners, identified as the fault points. Alaska Airlines was among the first to respond. They didn't stop at compliance. They restructured their entire maintenance program, enhancing standards for high-stress components, deploying real-time engine diagnostics, and increasing checks on vulnerable structures. The engine cowling explosion was more than a malfunction. It was a wake-up call, a reminder that one fractured fan blade, if overlooked, could erase 182 lives, simply because the inspection schedule hadn't arrived yet. Now, a new race has begun, a quiet race between technology and time to ensure that unseen errors never again become deadly headlines. Beyond applying technology to maintenance and inspection, the investigation after the incident carved out a lesson no one can afford to ignore. Material fatigue, the silent threat, lurks in every seemingly flawless metal component. As engines age, even the slightest flaw can become a lethal fracture point, just like what occurred when the engine cowling detached mid-air. A technical analyst from Flight Global, a respected aviation journal, emphasized the issue. We've seen numerous cases where material fatigue went undetected under traditional inspection routines. It's time to adopt ultrasonic scanning and advanced imaging techniques for early detection. Immediately following the event, airlines around the world tightened their technical inspection protocols and accelerated the adoption of technologies designed to identify hidden weaknesses in engine components. Boeing, too, responded swiftly, restructuring parts of the 737-900ER design and production pipeline to improve resistance to long-term structural wear. But that's not the only legacy of Flight 558. Captain Miller and his crew did more than save 182 lives. They became living proof of the irreplaceable role of humans in the cockpit, composed, analytical, timely in their decisions. They transformed what could have been a catastrophe into a controlled emergency landing. Since the incident, many airlines have reviewed and revised their crew training programs, placing renewed focus on emergency procedures, crisis reflexes, and decision-making under extreme pressure, where even a few seconds of hesitation can mean the difference between survival and tragedy. Global shock and divided reactions. After the terrifying explosion, the moment the aircraft touched down, the shockwave didn't stay in the cockpit. It erupted across the world via social media. A video showing the engine cowling, flapping like paper in midair quickly went viral, gaining millions of views in just a few hours. How could this happen on a commercial flight? That question echoed across thousands of comments. International media quickly responded. Dramatic headlines surfaced, ranging from "Miracle Above the Clouds" to Alaska 558's "Nightmare in the Sky." Many praised the flight crew as true heroes. CNN reported, "A miraculous escape in midair, a testament to the professionalism and rigorous training of the flight crew." Meanwhile, the New York Times offered a more sobering reflection. This incident is a stern reminder that no matter how advanced aviation technology becomes, the human factor remains the final line of defense in flight safety. At the same time, a wave of criticism began to mount against Alaska Airlines. Some members of the public questioned the airline's internal maintenance standards. The Seattle Times, which closely followed the event, reported, "Alaska Airlines is facing mounting pressure over its technical inspection procedures, even though the FAA initially found no major deficiencies in its scheduled maintenance." The public atmosphere may be split in half, but what no one could deny was the sheer panic triggered by the sight of that exposed engine. The image of a bare engine core, visible in midair, sent shockwaves not only through the cabin but also across the global public. A wave of aviation experts quickly stepped in to analyze the incident. David Soucy, a former FAA safety investigator, told NBC, "An engine cowling separation is never a minor issue. It brings back memories of previous catastrophic failures. The miracle here is that no one was injured, and that outcome was only possible thanks to the captain's incredibly precise decision-making." Under immense pressure from both media and the public, Alaska Airlines was forced to respond swiftly. The airline issued a formal statement confirming that all passengers were safe and that the crew had strictly followed emergency protocols. Alaska also pledged full cooperation with the FAA in the ongoing investigation, promising to handle the matter transparently, without concealing any steps in the process. Public opinion may remain divided. But one thing is certain. This incident will be remembered as a turning point, when every eye and every doubt turn toward what truly happens in the skies above. Final reflection. The miracle did not come from luck, but from a very high price. Flight 558 returned to the ground. No one died. A miracle, but the price of that miracle did not lie in luck, but in courage, human resilience, and unanswered questions. Why could such a critical component like the engine cover detach midair? What did the modern maintenance chain overlook? And the most chilling thought, could this not be an isolated incident, but the first sign of a crack silently spreading across the global aviation industry? Alaska Airlines spoke up. The FAA stepped in. Boeing remained silent. But behind every statement, every report, lies a fear no one wants to name, that things thought to be impossible can still happen. The plane landed. But the journey to find the truth has only just begun. A new chapter has opened, a chapter of transparency, of responsibility, and of the question, how many more Alaska 558s are silently flying in the skies without our knowledge? What do you think? Leave your comment below. Share your opinion. And if you also believe that stories like this need to be told to the very end, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can go all the way to the bottom of the truth together.